Yo, how are you? Welcome. What's up? What's going on? Welcome to episode 102 of Discourse in Magic. I am not yet used to triple digits, but I'll get used to it soon. Few quick things before we dive in. Number one, you're going to love the episode, particularly if you've ever bought any magic online, because you get to learn about, why some magic retailers are different than others, the ethics of buying magic online, what it's all about, and, what it's about, creating an effect, everything that it has to do with putting magic online and buying magic online. So you're going to learn a ton from that. Speaking of buying things online, the Discourse in Magic t-shirt is available. Again, there are only 100 available to celebrate our first 100 episodes. There's still a few left before they are completely and entirely sold out. So if that is something that interests you, excites you, or wants you to get bragging rights for life, then go ahead. You can find us on our website, you can find us on Facebook, you can find us on Instagram, you can find us on Tinder. We're everywhere. So head to the website, get a t-shirt so you can brag about it forever. And while you do that, here's some amazing ears fun. I don't know what I'm saying. Here's a great episode with Adam Wilber for you to listen to. Here we go. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Discourse in Magic. My name is Jonah.
My name is Tyler.
And we are here with a very, very exciting special guest. He runs Ellusionist, and you know him from that. You know him from his recent viral, may I say, Fool Us performance. He has created a ton of effects not exclusive to Pyro, which is one of the biggest, best-selling effects of all time. And we're so excited to dive in and talk magic and Ellusionist and everything. We are here with Adam Wilber. Adam, how you doing?
Hey, great. Thanks for having me, guys. I'm excited for this.
Super pumped to have you. Super pumped to, talk magic, talk theory, talk Ellusionist. So let's start at the very beginning and dive in. How did you get bitten by the magic bug?
Sure, 6 years old. A buddy of mine did the silk vanish. I was over at his house and he said, "Oh, I'll show you something." He did it. I said, "Oh, it's cute. It's up your sleeve." And then he rolled his sleeves up and did it again. And that was it. I was like, tell me he wouldn't. He just, in my head, I'm like, I know this kid. This is Jimmy. Jimmy's not magical. So I ended up going to the bookstore and actually stealing the prop from the Klutz Book of Magic. I didn't have money. And I saw it hanging out there and read the method and went, all I need is that thing. And I borrowed it long term, we'll say. And
never gave
that
it
was
back.
it. I practiced, showed my dad, and when I was 6 years old and I fooled my dad, you know how when you really fool someone, you can see it in their face?
Yeah.
That's the look my dad gave me that started me on magic, and I never looked back.
Yeah, especially as a kid, it's just so empowering to be like, that really worked. Like, he wasn't just humoring
and to
me.
your dad, your dad is the smartest person in the world, right?
Man, yeah.
Exactly.
100%. I remember I had a funny experience where I was doing magic, and I remember a transition. One of the first times I learned the Classic Force, I came downstairs and I basically had the cards spread, and then near the middle, two of the cards were a little higher, and then one card between those was even higher. It was basically a pyramid pointing out, and I went down towards my mother and I said, "Pick one." And she took the one that was obviously outjogged towards her. And it was at that moment that I just thought to myself, that was too easy. I think she did that to be nice. And from then on, I knew that I had to
expand your audience a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but bless her, right? I mean, I think that's the correct thing to do as a mother, as opposed to, no, I'm not taking the one you're trying to get me to take.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk a little bit about your journey and how you got to where you are now. So you started out like most of us, very young. How did you sort of take magic as a hobby and turn it into a profession?
Great question. I tried for many years. I was in college to be a teacher. I thought I was going to be a physical education teacher, and I was going to, play my part in combating the obesity epidemic in the United States. And that became super discouraging. Yeah, I mean, the reality is it is a serious problem, right? And the messed up thing is it's a problem that is 100% self-induced. We are responsible. It's not that we've screwed up the environment so much that we breathe toxic air. I mean, all that shit happens too, but this is legitimately a self-control and public health issue that is very easily changed. And I thought, hey, I can make a dent in this. And then, studying that and doing my student teaching and shadowing, it was a harsh reality that is a lot more than one person. It's got to come from way, way high up. So that discouragement sort of, coupled with the fact that I had a very hefty student loan to pay off, and realizing any job I would get using this education and this degree was maybe $30,000 a year, which I just couldn't, I couldn't foresee. That didn't make sense. How am I going to owe 50 grand in student loans and only make 30 a year? So that's when I really dived in and went, how do I supplement that income with, well, hey, I'll try it with magic. I like magic. So I did that, right around when I was in the mid 20s, early 20s is when I started really marketing my services and not just taking shows that came my way. Yeah. And I sort of went up the ladder. I started with the family shows like you do, and then was charging just pennies for walk around. And at the time I was still a pretty good walk around magician. I mean, I was doing the same tricks I'm doing today, but I didn't know that, I didn't know its value. I didn't know what its real worth was. So it took a decade to educate myself and see people who were really doing it correctly and making healthy livings and study that. And that's when I started realizing that the game wasn't being a good magician. The game was learning how to sell yourself as an entertainer to make money. So it's, you can learn and study magic all day and night, but if you don't have your backbone of business and understand how to talk to those people, then you're going to be a $300 an hour strolling magician, or a guy that does it as a hobbyist. If you want to make it a business, then you have to treat it as such, which is a business. And that took place right around, 26, 27, I got very serious of it. And then around 30 years old, I got into realizing that Ellusionist was a viable source of income if I could get my foot in that door. So I started thinking, hey, if I'm going to do magic as a living, why not work at a company that has a steady paycheck and then also do gigs in the background? And that's kind of what led me to Ellusionist.
And so tell us how that went down. I know a lot of people in the world of magic dream of working at Ellusionist. So how did that go down? How did you get your foot in the door?
Basically, they had it was a contest right on their Facebook page called Gold Wednesday. And you'd submit a trick and you'd win a gold arcane deck. So I submitted a bunch month after month. Might even have been weekly. I don't remember, but I won a bunch of them in a row. And they politely said, stop doing that because you're clearly a professional and the kids that are entering aren't. So give them a chance. And that was great. That was fine. And that was right after I'd sent them my first effect called earbuds. So I put out earbuds and I put it out as a contest. I did it so I could win. I could win essentially. I think it was an iPad loaded with Ellusionist stuff. I was like, oh, that'd be pretty cool. So I put in a pretty great video. Like I spent some time on this video and went out and filmed some cool shit. I even imagine being on a pier outside of water, right? So there's water and you're out on a pier and there's a fishing pole out there, as there would be. And I have a kid come up, he signs a card, I do ambitious card, and at the end, the card disappears. And I go, well, when you screw up as a magician, you do this thing called fishing. And then fishing is kind of fishing for a solution, for an answer to solve this problem of screwing the trick up. So with that said, there's a fishing hole right there. Let's just try something, reel that in. And the kid reels it in. And on the other end of it was a waterproof pouch. And inside the pouch was a Kennedy's card box. So then I have him pull it up. I have him take the pouch off, pull out the box, and I show him a card. And, so somehow his signed card was in the water as we were performing the trick. And that led into earbuds right after. So I was like, dude, this is pretty good for a contest. And assumed I would at least place in the top 3. And I didn't. Jeff Prace won it. I remember that. And then 2 other kids got second and third. And I was just, to speak bluntly, I was pissed. I was like, what? Yeah. Come on, man. And then they ended up calling me after and saying, hey, we didn't put that through because it's really good. And it's an effect we would like to market and put out. So that was my foot in the door with them of sort of making them know who I was through Gold Wednesday. Wow. And then working with them with earbuds. And, I say working with them, really, I filmed all of earbuds myself with a friend sent Pete the footage, Peter McKinnon.
Yeah.
And that was my first, meeting with Peter McKinnon. And then he took my footage and edited it. And then we really hit it off and became very close friends. And Pete is a big reason of why I got my actual position with Ellusionist. He was high up in the company at the time. We hit it off. I ended up going and doing Magic Live with him for Ellusionist as being just a guy in the booth. Yeah. And that's when we just, we became, it was like instant great friends. And I think about 6 months after the fact, he kept putting the seed in Brad's ear. And then Brad and I had a couple conversations, and Jason Brumbelow had just left. So they needed somebody to kind of step in and do some product management and our project management and things of that such. And I said, hey, let me do it. Give me the chance. And
beautiful.
And he did. He gave me the chance. And then, the rest is just like anything. If you want to succeed at something, do the absolute best you can. And I think my one piece of advice to anybody who wants to succeed in a company is make sure you show up before everybody else and you leave before everybody, or leave after everybody else. And I just did that for the first year. I just put in 80 hours a week, every single week. And it got noticed, and I got to work my way up to, general manager and sort of running the show under Brad. And it's been cotton candy and smiles ever since.
That's awesome. And I love the story because a lot of people forget that, magic is such an incredible tool, not only for interacting with lay people, but, with the magic community. To legitimately get noticed because of great magic, is the dream. And people are endlessly submitting stuff to Ellusionist and to other magic companies. And it's just great to see. I mean, maybe you were lucky enough for that to be back when submitting stuff was, here's a deck of cards, before it was so big as it is now. But just in general, it's awesome that you're able to put your magic foot forward basically and get noticed. And it's an opportunity for people at home. And it's just a reminder that, the great get noticed, right?
And it's also a reminder that you have to put in the hours, right?
Yeah.
There's no
That's
way.
It. That's exactly right. I think that's the key, is that anything worth doing is not ever easy. There is no golden ticket. Even people who win the lottery, most of those people end up broke 5 years later.
Right.
You want it, you got to work for it. And the nice thing is, anyone in magic, we have a passion that other people don't have. Musicians can carry it, and true artists in places like realms of acting and painting can have it. But magicians are extremely passionate about what we do, and it's
obsessive.
It is. It's an obsession. It's a serious obsession. And to take that obsession but put your work ethic behind it, you can't fail. If you can develop or practice a good work ethic and be passionate about something, you're going to succeed. You don't even have to be skilled in it. And I think that's the one thing a lot of people in the magic world, they lack. They think that they're really passionate and talented, but they forget that there's a work ethic that has to go behind it, right. Which means a lot of the stuff you're going to do is not the fun stuff, right? It's the stuff that is way behind the scenes. It's the 2 years of developing something and having people tell you it's crap and pushing through it. Or it's the 30 years of practicing not card moves and sleight of hand, but interactions with humans and being memorable to people. And, I think that my role at Ellusionist was just a good example of, you're going to have to get noticed in one way or another. That's got to be either something that's good and that has a value, either monetarily, a trick you can sell, or an idea that can come to life. And then secondly, you've got to back that up with being responsible and being professional. If I see so many people that have decent ideas but are so unprofessional about the way they send it to us or the way they approach us with it, that's a big part of it too. If you're into anything as a profession, you have to be professional about it. Where I think a lot of magicians understand how good and talented they are, but they miss that you've got to be hardworking and professional to make these things be seen. Even if you have something that's great, you've got to figure out a way to get it in front of people. And the best way to do that is to be good with people and be a hardworking professional person to approach.
Love it. For people at home to get a better understanding, what exactly is it that you do in a day-to-day world for Ellusionist?
So my title is general manager. So it's really overseeing, everything that's happening at the company. What decks are coming out? Where are they in the process of being developed? Does Brad need final approval on things?
Right.
The day-to-day project managing aspect of it is a big, healthy part of it, as well as obviously the creation, the development of new effects, new even process, right? Magic stream, things of that nature. Those are all things that take a lot of time and logistical planning to get in place. And then obviously creating effects themselves. I try and put one or two things out every year. And then a lot of times it's also putting fires out, right? Nobody's perfect and companies aren't perfect and we make mistakes. So, doing my diligence to make sure, and I'm not the only one, there's G is a big part of helping with this as well, of realizing when and if we've made a mistake and then figuring out what the best way to solve it is, right? So everybody is happy where, ethics in Magic, it's a fine line, man. I mean,
of course.
What's right and what's wrong? Well, it's easy to say what's right and what's wrong. Exactly. And there's no law on it, right? It's not like I can say I developed this software, there's 2 patents on it, you stole my patent, you're going to jail. So that's a big part of it too, just making sure that the mission of the company rings true, right? It'd be easy to steal a bunch of stuff and make a lot of money, but doing it in a proper manner that is good for Magic and puts Magic in the light that it deserves. And we teach a lot of young kids. We teach a lot of newbies. It is up to companies like us and larger companies. We have to be responsible to let people know that there is a right and a wrong. And if you want to be successful in the Magic world, then you have to play by the rules.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So on that note of being sort of one of the front lines for kids, I'll tell you a very funny story. I was recently working with not a kid, but I was working with sort of an adult who was learning Magic, and he said to me, he's like, I looked online and I couldn't find any online courses about Magic. Like I wanted to learn to take a course online and I couldn't find it. And I was like, well, that's sort of not how Magic works. Like there's not a lot of online courses. There are, however, downloads, and there's things like, Magic Stream, and there's like big major online Magic companies. And it's interesting because you're basically one of the lines of defense against what everyone's angry about that's going on places like YouTube with exposure and with people that have absolutely no business teaching things being the one to teach it. So I really resonate with what you're saying in terms of you having a responsibility and a necessary awareness when dealing with the youngsters and giving them, good material that they can work on, stuff that is reasonably difficult, not very difficult, a way to learn from the best. So can you talk a little bit about that, how you guys, handle that and what the approach is to let people get into Magic seamlessly?
Yeah, I think the idea that YouTube and being upset that the hacks are up there teaching and things of that nature, at the end of the day, that's in every single walk of life, right? Well, it's not just Magic that's happening to. There are people that are teaching, no joke, healthcare on YouTube.
Right.
How do you treat somebody if they're injured?
Right.
That always comes down to, look, if the kid is so young that he doesn't know right from wrong, he's 6, 7 years old, then that's where a parent steps in and goes, oh, you're into Magic, let me get you that kit, right?
Right.
And that's what it used to be. I'll buy you the kit, I'll buy you the book. Now it's, oh, I see that you're interested in Magic, you're watching all these YouTube videos. That's still going to be an area where the parent has to step in and say, let me make sure you're getting good stuff. And I was lucky enough that my parents did that. Let me get you the good books. Let me take you to the real Magic shops.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That's never going to go away with ever YouTube, whatever that is. There's always got to be some sort of filter in place that either the person, the student, or the parents of the student, till they get to that certain age, take some responsibility in what they're learning. Okay. So you go to a YouTube video and this guy is a hack and he's teaching you things terribly, and you learn Magic and you entertain people with Magic. And now you go, hey, I like this. At some point, you're going to realize in your education of Magic, learning the Magic, that this guy's a hack, and you're going to advance from that. I don't have a problem with that. If Hack Boy started you on magic and taught you all the wrongs, all that means is you're going to have to teach yourself how to do it properly.
Right.
So you're either going to continue on this journey of magic or you're not. The only downside I see is if that hack teaches you so poorly, that's the only thing you learn, and then you go out and try it, and it discourages you to keep learning magic.
Right.
That's the problem I see. And that's, again, up to the student. The student has to fight through that. The people who love magic, they will. They'll persevere through that.
Exactly.
So
that's what I was going to say. Like, every magician fails in the beginning. Like, you go out there and you eat shit, and then you go home and cry, and then you don't make those mistakes again, right?
And you might look at your education. Okay, why am I eating shit? Oh, it's because I'm learning from Johnny, douchebag online, and he's not good. I've now found Ellusionist or Theory 11 or Vanishing Ink. And now I get it. Now I get that there's actual good people that understand the theory. So for us as a company, our priority and job number one, our mission is to put out good magic, right? It doesn't matter if that is magic for a 6-year-old or if that's magic for a 50-year-old pro. It's put out good magic in every walk of life. So it can be mentalism, it can be whatever. We do know our platform best resonates with visual learning, right? So downloads and DVDs. That's the way that our customer base likes to purchase. And we have tested that numerous times with books and other outlets. So we know what platform is best for us. And the guideline we try and stick to is, for me personally, would I buy this? And if I did, would I be happy that I bought it? And if it says, if I can say yes to those, I might not want to perform the thing. Right? It might not be something that appeals to me. For instance, we just put out a one-handed pharaoh. Right. I will never in my life care to learn that. That's not something that excites me. But there are thousands of people that turns on. So for me, great. If I was to buy it and I was interested in it, would I be happy with it? So we look over the footage, we look over the product. Absolutely. You can learn from it. You understand it. Great. We're happy with it. That's a pretty simple guideline to follow. And I think if we can stick within that guideline and obviously keeping good morals and good ethics as a standard, don't steal from people. If you do and it comes out and you realize you're wrong, make it right. Basic common sense ethics, the golden rule, just treat other people how you would expect them to treat you. And that's pretty simple. Put out good magic that we would be happy to buy ourselves, and make sure that we're following our gut and our instinct on good ethics of magic. And I think you will continue to grow and be successful as a company if you can do that. If the product you put out is something you would actually be happy that you bought, and you stick to the ethics that go behind it. And I think that's sort of our mission, and I think we do a pretty good job of it. And then the teaching of the younger kids comes in line with that, because they are the place that people go, I buy products from this company and I always like them. Oh, you're into magic? You should go to this company. And that's where we're doing our part. We're doing our part by just doing the absolute best that we can. And we have slowly done things where we are targeting directly the younger people who have never been into magic. Things like Miracle Card Magic, How to Be a Magician, box set, the kit. Those are geared for people that now they have a kit that isn't the Walmart kit, right? It's a kit that's actually of some exactly. So that's, I think, where we play the role of sort of molding the youth into what I think good magic should be. Now we'll only get them to a certain limit. Once you want to start talking about getting into the theory, the business, the presentational styles, the acting, right? The theater of magic. We don't stress a lot of that because we know that's not our target demographic. And there are other companies that do that much better. There are companies that sell books on that type of thing. So I get messages all the time from people asking, hey, what about this, that, and the other? And I'll always recommend the same handful of books. And anything to do with theory, presentation, or who you should be as a stage character. Those aren't books we sell, but I'm more than happy to recommend them to people who have now, I don't want to say exhausted Ellusionist, but they've gotten to the point at Ellusionist where now they're ready to go to the next level and take their hobby or passion into an actual art where they're studying the theater, the presentation, 100%. The connection with the audience.
100%. And to realize that Ellusionist can be a source for them of tricks, but there's also higher learning that you can go elsewhere to find in terms of, diving into theory and business and stuff. And, it's not, they're not graduating from the School of Ellusionist, but they can keep, one hand in the Illusionist camp to see what's coming out and what's
and apply the principles that they're learning.
Exactly. And then they can go deeper elsewhere.
Exactly right. Yeah.
What are those same few books that you recommend to everybody, if you don't mind sharing?
Sure. Strong Magic, Darwin Ortiz is you have to have that. Tangled Web is a big one that I like. There's a lot of magic in it, but Tangled Web itself is, well, basically anything by Eric Mead is going to be worth its weight in gold. There's another book that I'm a huge, huge fan of, and I don't think it's gotten the attention that I think it deserves. One of them is Tommy Wonder's Building an Act. It's a PDF that just came out recently, and I believe you can get that from Tom Stone. It is a gold mine of material. And then the last one, More Than Meets the Eye. That's by Dan Harlan. More Than Meets the Eye is a phenomenal way to build a show. So it's pretty classic and pretty standard stuff, but he really lays it out for. I don't have a show. I have a bunch of tricks. How do I put that show together? Right. And that's what that's really great for. So those are kind of my stepping stones or my startings. And then people who want to get into, the real theater and how to put an effect together that resonates, then Scripting Magic, both volume 1 and 2. And lastly would be Maximum Entertainment by Ken Weber.
Yeah, so that's a great book.
If you can get through those and absorb that information, that's all you'll need to know. You're going to know more about how to be relatable, emotionally engaging, memorable, who you are as a character development on stage. I think that library of books would be all that you'll ever need for the rest of your life, in my opinion.
Beautiful. I love it. And it's a good basis for people at home who are trying to learn some theory and learn sort of exactly the direction that they should go to make their magic better, to make their tricks into a show, and to start adding theory to their tricks. So I love that. Thank you so much for that.
Absolutely.
I wanted to ask a little bit about the Magic Stream, because when it came out, I thought that it was very, very interesting, particularly, and this was just the reason that excited me about it, is because one of the hardest areas of Magic to deal with is trailers, because it's this really strange middle ground of not wanting to give away what the trick is, but not wanting to keep it a secret so that people can understand, but letting them know what's happening. But it's got to be shot, beautifully. Like there's a lot going on in a Magic trailer.
Yeah, that's the hardest part, 100%.
Yeah. And the Magic Stream sort of finds a little bit of a way for people to avoid that if they're a part of it, because they can, they already bought it, it's like the money is already in hand. So when they see something, they can just say, great, let's learn the finer details of how this works, and not, I think I understand what's happening here already. I don't need to buy. Or, and they lose out on hours worth of incredible, meticulous, additions,
subtleties,
from the creators, because they're like, yeah, I think I understand what's going on here.
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it. I do a lot of I'm trying to do a lot more keynote speaking, and in those environments is about business, right? We're talking to business people. They don't really give a shit about magic. It's nice that I have the hook of magic and that can get me in the door, but why the hell am I going to talk about magic tricks to a Fortune 500 company, right? Doesn't make sense. Right. But what is interesting to them is the idea that magic is for sale, right? That's a very interesting thing for people. You tell anyone, hey, I mean, even if you don't work at a magic company, just telling people about the magic community and what it is, it's a funny thing. People assume that magic is like
secrets.
It is that you're mentored, right? That you find someone and that someone passes these secrets down to you. And that's good. I like that people think that. I think that's a benefit. That's an asset we can use as entertainers. And if that's not how you learned, who gives a shit? Tell them it is, right? Yes, I had this mentor. He died, but he mentored me till he was 105 years old. That's a nice story, right? If I'm trying to engage my audience and have them emotionally connect with my story, why not fluff it a bit, right? Mm-hmm. So I like that idea. But when you tell people, I work for a company that sells magic to magicians, it's a very interesting thing. And then when you break down that process, which is somebody has an effect is a trick, okay? So somebody owns the rights to this trick because they invented it. We filmed that trick. Now my customer base sees it and it fools them. Now that doesn't mean I'm fooling laymen and I have to explain to laymen what laymen are, right? But it means I'm fooling magicians that do this for a living with the video. So much so that they want to pay me to get the video that then teaches what they just saw. That's a very complicated procedure because as a magician, right, we get to do these beautiful sleight of hand moves that we practice in our room and we see in the mirror look beautiful. And then our goal is to go out there, perform them for no one to ever see that they exist. That's the only art form in the world where that happens. Every other art form, exactly. And to me, sometimes the most interesting part. Now, argument would be that you should script your trick for the presentation to be more interesting than the method. But as you guys know, some of these methods are really fucking cool and really fun, and it's really neat to show people. And we have to hide that. So to figure out how do we hide the best, how do we not show what we're selling? Because that's exactly what we're doing. We're selling the secret, but we can't show them the secret. That's a very challenging thing. Yeah. Now, you've seen there are videos that one procedure or process of doing so would be to say, we're going to film what the spectator sees. That's what the trailer is going to look like. And I don't mind that at all. The problem with it is you can fool buyers pretty badly. You can get them to think one thing by saying, no, this is just what the spectator sees. But we edited out 9 minutes of where he went out and did all the pre-show. Now, that's where it can be really finicky, right? Now, it can be done well. It can be done in a manner which we've done. We did with Cypher, for instance. Cypher was done very well. And it was a way of just saying, look, we're just going to show you what the spectator sees. And yes, we have to edit out some stuff. But it's a very fine line, and it's actually very hard. Now, with Magic Stream, you still can go watch the trailers. Yeah. So even if you're not a member of Magic Stream, you can go on Magic Stream and watch the trailers. So we still have to disguise things into the trailers, right? But I see what your point is. I think your point would have been, let's say you sign up for $50 a month and it gives you just full access. And now every trailer, instead of it being a trailer, is just a legitimate start to finish presentation of the effect. Yeah. That's what I really loved about the L&L sets. You watch the guys act. The way I used to run through these is I'd watch the act with a notepad. I'd take notes of the title of the trick. And if I liked it, I'd star it. So 1 to 5 stars. The ones that had 5 stars, I'd learn those first. Yeah. Now that's saving me a shitload of time, right? I don't have to go back and go, which one did I like? I can go, I liked Think, Touch, Turn, and I liked this Triumph. I'm going to go to the explanations and learn those directly. And that was at a point where, you bought the DVD. We don't care.
Exactly.
The DVD is literally just clips of a full performance. And that's what I try and do with my personal products, is do a start to finish performance, because that's what you're buying. You're not buying my trick. If you want the trick, most of my stuff you can work out by watching, because they're double lifts. I work in a way that I have to be foolproof and surrounded all the time. So you watch my entire start to finish, who's going to buy my product? Nobody, because they're going to go, oh, that's clever. He did a double lift and then he So I like doing a start to finish show. We get people in an environment. I say, I'm going to do a show as if I was paid to do it. And then I'm showing you highlights of that show, because that's what you're buying. You're buying the way I talk to audiences. You're buying the way I put routines together, the way that I present them to audiences. And the only way to get that is to buy the whole package, sort of like what L&L did. Right. If you remember L&L's marketing, it were highlight reels of their, Bill Malone's highlight reel of his entire set. And that was enough to go, I want to do that. So I love that approach. It's just impossible with all effects, right? We have one coming out. Dude, you guys are going to lose your shit over this.
I'm excited.
It is so good. Like, Oh my God. Just keep it's Dwayne. Dwayne's coming out with a new effect, but it's a single effect. And there's really, I mean, you can do a start to finish trailer for it, but it is one of those things that, yes, you are just buying the one secret. What the hell is he doing to make that work? So there's no way we could throw a whole party and have that, in a highlight reel and say, buy this trick. So it's a very, probably one of the toughest parts of the being a company that sells magic is figuring out the safe, fair, but also, good marketing effort way to sell products. Yeah. Where can we do it? That's that thin line where we're not misleading in the trailer, but we're not giving so much away that people don't buy it. Because as you know, a lot of times people just want the secret. They're not going to perform it. They just want the secret. So it's one of the toughest parts of the job is figuring out how to make the trailers fair, just, but also to serve a purpose, which is selling the product.
Sure. I want to touch on something that you mentioned in there because I think that it's an interesting maybe discrepancy. I don't know how to say the word in the magic buying and selling world, which is that for a magician, oftentimes for a magician to want to buy an effect, they need to be fooled by it. But we all know that there's plenty of amazing effects which don't fool us, but fool our spectators. By definition, as soon as we know how it works, it doesn't fool us anymore, and we just perform it. So every effect that a magician does, they know how it works. So it's very, not silly, but it's very interesting that there's such a point in the release of an effect that it should fool a magician, because it's almost like you're going further than you need, or in often cases, or what might be the case is that you're actually going too far. You've made this more complicated than it needs to be in order to fool magicians, but it doesn't need to be there. So can you talk a little bit about that?
It's a very, very valid point. And I think the answer that I have in my head for that is that there are two different types of buyers. There are people that are workers and serious hobbyists that will buy. I don't care what the method is. I just want to know, is this something I'll use? That's Group A. And then there's Group B. And Group B is, I want a trick. I want something cool and flashy. I want to know the secret to it. And that is a much bigger demographic that I think you might be aware of. And I think we at Ellusionist deal with that more than any other company. Wow. Companies like Vanishing Ink, they do a lot of worker material. Right? A lot of things that are book related, that are straight worker stuff. Yeah. Whereas we're not in that field. So we get more of that Group B that is, if I think I know the method, I'm not going to buy it. Right. And there are a lot of them out there. I don't believe that is the proper way to buy or look at magic, but that doesn't change the fact that it's there. There are people that straight up go, I bought it because it fooled me. I'll never do it, but I had to know the secret. Right. And as a company, is that sticking to my, the company's mission statement? Yeah, because we're still putting out good magic. The only way we would be deterring from that mission statement is if that was the initial effort. Just fool people in the trailer. That's all we care about. Because look, man, without naming companies, there are companies that have done beautiful computer edits that fools the shit out of you. When you buy the product, you go, what the fuck? Are you kidding me? Yeah. What is this thing? Now that I think is crossing a line. So in our market, it has happened. Yes. And we make mistakes too. We've done things that I've taken my foot out of my mouth for, so nobody's perfect. I understand that. But I think there is a large group of buyers, probably about 30% of buyers that are buying new magic that comes out new. 30% of those are buying them because they're fooled. And they'll probably never buy, or they'll never use the effect. They'll never really care to. They just literally want to know the method, and now they can feel happy and rest easy that they know that secret. So to pretend that those people don't exist is just bad for business, right? Whereas, yes, the majority of people are going to go, I don't care. Just show me the damn trick, and I'll make my decision if I want it or not. That's what I did with Pyro. Pyro is very obvious. Look, this thing's just fireball shooter. This is how it works. Do you want to shoot fire or not? Because in my mind, I am never going to be in front of an audience that I get them to believe I am somehow shooting fireballs from my hand. And to be blunt, and this might sound harsh, I don't want to work for people who would have that mentality.
Of course.
If I can convince them that I am magical and I'm shooting Merlin. Fireballs, hey, there are characters that is it. I had a guy that genuinely called me and told me the only reason that's your mentality is because you're not a good enough magician to make them believe it. Hey, look, man, believe what you want and I'll just go keep working my shows and getting paid to do it. So there are people that believe that. You should never reveal a secret. They should believe that you're actually possessing a power. Hey, great, do your thing.
Nonsense.
With Pyro, this is the device. I know that by showing you this device, you can make your educated decision, do I want this or not? I'm not leaving anything out there. We even have a fucking 3D animation that explodes it internally that you can see what this thing is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, the other side of that is we might have a $9 download, right? And that $9 download is a card trick. But there's some shit in that card trick that's really fooling. Well, my number one intention for that card trick, because it's a download and it's very easy for people to steal, you guys might not believe this, but there are magicians out there that will illegally download material.
No,
really? I swear to God. Yep, It's a fact. So that, I want to fool them, right? I want to fool them the first second they see that trailer so they can impulsively go, screw it, I'm going to buy it.
Right.
And that's I think of how much more successful magic companies would be today if nothing was ever pirated online. I mean, legitimately, it would be 50% revenue increased for every magic company out there. 50%. Think about how much kick-ass magic we could put out if we had 50% more income to do research and development. I've been working on something for over 4 years that I just can't financially make feasible. But if I do, I promise you it will be the best-selling magic trick the world has ever seen. The finances to make it a reality aren't there. Now, if piracy wasn't a thing, I'll bet you the finances would be there. So it's a very real issue that doing trailers correctly can combat a small part of that. If we fool them instantly, those impulse buyers that just want to know the secret, they'll buy. So I don't think a trailer has to fool a magician, but I think it's smart business sense to do so in a fair way that isn't manipulating the actual effect that they're buying. So we're not leading them down a path to think they're getting something where they get something else. So that was a long way to answer, but I hope that answered your question.
Great answer.
Yeah, no, it was an amazing answer. I want to talk a little bit more about Pyro before we jump into piracy, because I have some ideas on both those topics. I love what happened with Pyro. It sort of like blew up and was my non-magicians friends had, it was in their YouTube ads and whatnot. And there's a big sort of backlash from people in my circle of magicians who are like, I don't think this should be so popular. I don't think everyone should be buying it. I think it's driving non-magicians to Ellusionist and they're learning secrets and it's hurting what I do. I completely disagree, but I'd like to hear your response to those statements.
Yeah, look, I get it. People were upset. This is not taking, I would have bought it, but it's so popular now I'm not going to. I get that. That is 100% your decision, and I will back that till the cows come home. For me, I'm the general manager of a company that sells magic. The reason my children, my kids get to eat food and have clothes on is because the company that I work for sells magic. Of course, I am not going to sit here and say the reason I put things out is to make magic a better thing and to do my part in expanding the art form. And look, that's bullshit. If you want a bullshit answer, that's a bullshit answer. And I know people who say that and they don't mean it. And I know people who say it and mean it, but as a company, the size of Ellusionist, my goal is to sell products. So if you say to me, you can keep this secret in the magic community and sell 1,000 units of it, or you can let everyone in the world know about it and sell 30,000 units of it. Great. Where do I sign to let everyone in the world know about this? Now, the other argument is it's pushing non-magicians to Ellusionist, and that's making it okay. So the argument to that would be John Smith hired me for a gig, and I went and I did Decibel to him, and he went, I know where that's for sale. It's for sale on Ellusionist, or even worse. Oh, I bought that trick too. Okay. So look, this guy spent $120 on this effect, and you're now upset that you're doing the same effect, and he's saying, oh, I bought that effect. Look, if this guy spent money on buying the effect, he likes magic enough to do so.
Exactly.
He is not buying that effect. So when you do it at his party, he can go, I know how you did it. There's a fake thumb on there and it's got a Bluetooth receiver inside of it. Yes, nailed it. That was $120 well spent. So all we're doing is pushing people to this art form that we love.
Exactly.
They can find the secrets themselves. All you have to do is go on Google and say, how does a guy shoot fireballs from his empty hands? He's going to find it. So I helped push it in front of them. Now, I do think taking something like, here's Adam Wilber's Penn and Teller performance, and this is my video explaining verbatim how he did everything. Now, is that wrong? No, you're allowed to post whatever the fuck you want to post online. Is it morally wrong? Is it bad for Magic? I do believe so, because now you're not pushing anywhere. You're not pushing anyone to anything except views on your channel. And that's the alternative mode. Now, the argument could be, well, I'm just trying to make my living too. That's fine, but you're making your living off the coattails of hard work that I put in for a routine, that Juan Carlos put in the development of a product. You're stealing someone else's hard work for your benefit. Where me pushing pyro out to the masses is not stealing anybody's hard work. I'm not taking anything away from magicians that have practiced for 50 years by saying, hey, here's pyro, you can go buy it. And if you were to argue with me, no, you're making it harder for me to do my job by telling people magic exists and giving them an easy platform to buy it. I will 100% disagree with you in that, because they're not buying you because the tricks you're doing. And if they are, you need to read those books that I just mentioned earlier. They should be buying you as a human and as Adam Wilber. It doesn't look at anyone who has seen the Carbonaro Effect, great TV show.
Right. Yeah.
If you go watch his live show, have any of you guys seen his live show?
I've never seen his live show.
It is the epitome of that argument, because every effect in his show you can go buy at any magic shop in the country. I'm talking about Bill to Lemon. I'm talking about the Invisible Deck. You can find his entire act at a magic shop for probably $300.
Right.
But what he does is that you love him. You love Michael Carbonaro as he walks on stage. Within 30 seconds, you love him. I don't care if he took a shit in the middle of the stage. You're in love with him because of his character, his performing style, who he is, the way he makes you feel. Those aren't tricks that people can't go literally on YouTube and find every single answer to in the span of 30 minutes. So if you think that me giving secrets to the masses for them to go buy it is making it harder for you as a performer, I think you should be focusing more on your performance, your character, and your differentiator from the other magicians out there than you should be on a company pushing products to the mass market.
And so not only that, like when you're teaching someone, when someone's just exposing someone else's hard work, what the viewer gets out of it is, oh, okay, now I know how that works. And the magic's just ruined and they don't go anywhere from there. Versus when they get that sort of release of like, oh, that's the secret. And then boom, right beside that video, there's dozens of other educational tools on how to be a better magician. You're just creating more magicians and pushing creativity and magic forward.
That's it. Yeah. Look, if everyone kept them secrets except when performing and no one ever figured out the methods, well, look, we're going to have, then our art will die. It's that simple. There's just not enough time and energy in today's world for everyone to pick a mentor and have. Now, the ones that are serious, the ones that excel and become experts, yes, they go through the process. I've had multiple mentors. I find the easiest way to get good at something. Here's a perfect example. I want to be a keynote speaker. My 5-year goal is to be the United States #1 keynote speaker on the topic of innovation and creativity. That is a fucking lofty goal. I mean, there are some people out there that murder that game. So what do? I'm now at starting point A, which is 0, and I want to get to the top. I find the top. Who are my top? And I study every single thing they do. I don't get to mentor under these people because a day with some of them is $30,000.
Right.
But every single one of them, I have 3 on my radar, and every single one of them have at least 3 books they've written, multiple videos of what they do online. And just by looking at their website alone, I'm being mentored by these people. Now, I'm not stealing what they're doing, but I'm being mentored on my own time by these people, because I know to get to where I want to be, I have to put in that energy. Just like you might get hooked by Ellusionist. Then you might go to Vanishing. You might buy these props and have these cool toys. When you sit down with yourself and say, okay, it's time. I'm now taking this to a professional level. That's up to you and you alone to say, I'm going to reach out and find a mentor. That doesn't mean you have to call up Bill Malone and say, do you have time to mentor me? But a good place to start is to buy all of his products and study them until you can't study them anymore. Then take a break and do it all over again. That's it. That's your decision, and you have to make that. But no one can do it. Our job, get them excited about it. Let them know, hey, this shit, you can buy this. You can go have fun with your friends and entertain. And if that spark is what stirs you in a new direction to make magic your life, like the Silk Vanish did to me, then the rest is up to you. The rest is up to you and finding it and doing it correctly.
And on that note, you know, I like what you were saying before about people finding it. And like, so in a very down to earth, not highbrow way, like, what is a magician? You know, like, let's not talk about it in terms of art, and let's not talk about it in terms of, you know, like, what is a magician? It's somebody who does magic, right? Yeah. So by saying like, here's a trick, do you want to literally, you already know how it works, particularly with a trailer like Pyro, right? Like, you already know how it works. It's almost even nicer than when the kid goes to the magic store for the first time and the guy behind the counter fools them brutally into buying the trick, not like fools them because they don't know how it works, and then they buy the trick. And then, you know, everyone has a story of, oh yeah, I did magic from when I was 6 to when I was 9. You know, I always like to say, oh, I did magic with that, and I say, and then you grew up, right? And like, it's just my playful way of saying that. Sure. So many people start magic and then stop magic. So, you know, there can be plenty of ins for people into the world of magic. And
look at Shin. I mean, people who argue that YouTube is bad for magic. Look, first of all, grow the fuck up. It's 2018, dude.
Yeah, seriously.
You know, just like when books came out and libraries, what do you think magicians at the time thought, right? Guess what, dude? It's not going anywhere, so deal with it. Use it to your advantage, or just shut up. Because people who just complain and don't have a solution or see a opportunity in that complaint, I don't have time for. You know, look. It's so easy to complain about everything in the world. The people that I respect are the ones that go, here's my complaint, here's my solution, and here's the opportunity to come from it. Right. So great. That's what Brad did. Video is happening. I'm going to leverage it and make opportunities out of it. Right. So when people bring it up to me, well, I just think it's bad for magic. It is. Great. Who's the absolute best card magician alive today by the Federation of the FISM? Well, it's Shinlin. It's written in stone. He won it. He's the best card magician alive today as of right now, says them. Awesome. You do realize that the only reason he does magic is because magic on YouTube existed. That's where he started. He saw, he learned. Obviously, he got to that point where he went, I'm pretty fucking good at this. I'm going to take it to the next level, which he did, right? He learned from mentors. He learned from others. He bought books. He has dyslexia as well. Like I do, which is very hard to learn from books, but you still can. So without YouTube, my point is we wouldn't have the best card magician in the world today. So anyone to argue that, again, you're complaining without seeing advantages in the complaint. And for that, I just have no time for that.
Yeah. And I'd like to touch on that just very briefly. I thought it was very interesting when you were talking about the learning styles of your demographic and how they're visual learners, and that's how they like to consume information. And I didn't know that you and Shim Lim are both dyslexic, and so am I. And that's the only argument I make is like, yes, I read books sometimes, but it also takes me 5 times longer than it would you. And I probably learned it wrong a few times, right?
Well, so I think that's our advantage too. And there's some studies done on people with dyslexia and the way their brain and creativity works. So it strengthens other part of your brains because we're fighting so hard. The trick Immaculate Connection, written up in Paul Harris's Art of Astonishment, I believe it's volume 2. That's about a 40-page trick. Right. That took me, and this isn't fabricated, just to read through and understand. It took me 3 months. That's 40 pages.
Yeah.
3 months.
Can relate.
It's because I saw the trick in real life. And that's the only reason I put the time into. And now this is a trick I've done for the last 20 years, 15 years. And I'll do it at every show, every single time. It's a special place in my heart for me because It was so good that I saw it online, and it was so good that I tortured myself for months to read it, only to find out after the fact that I could have learned it from Stars of Magic on video. But, I think to say a visual art form is best learned through mentors and books only is just a very ignorant statement. And then to move that forward into, well, exposure on YouTube is bad for Magic. Again, it's an ignorant statement. It's bad in one way if the person takes it that way, but it's not. It's good for Magic because it's exposing and getting it out there. Then the person watching makes their decision. Is this something I want to pursue and move forward with or not? And the other end of it is it makes all the professionals work harder. You don't want to do the same shit you see everyone do online. So, well, maybe I can't create magic and I'm not a creator in that sense. Then change your script. Make your presentation your unique selling proposition. And in turn, it's going to whittle out all the shit performers and it's going to make the ones that are good and put the time in accept. So I think all of it is good. The magic out there is good. You want to be a shitbag, put out bad magic and rip people off? Look, man, you might not believe in karma, but I believe pretty hard in it. So look, it's going to come back to you. There are people that put things online currently and make a huge following. I'll gladly name a few. There's Rick Lax. There's Jabrizi. There's people like Disturb Reality. These are all YouTube, Facebook, and social media platforms that are excelling their success in a field that a lot of magicians don't agree with. So, hey, you're stooging people. You're getting people to react, and we know that. We busted you.
Right.
Okay. So what is the argument? I'm confused as what the argument is, because their goal is to produce entertaining videos. That's all. Their goal is very clear. Their goal is not to better Magic. Their goal is not to make Magic more artistic and seen as an artistic platform to the world.
No,
that's not their goal.
Views, right? Like that's it.
They want video views, and they're not arguing. They're not lying about that, right? They're not coming out and saying those aren't stooges. That video was wrong. So to me, even the people who are so up in arms about this, oh my God, what a bunch of douchebags. I applaud them both. Look, they have more followers on these platforms than most people who are complaining will ever. So again, shut up, stop complaining. You want to have your opinion, have it by all means.
Yeah.
The smart ones are going, where's the opportunity in this?
Yeah. For me, it's like the argument of like being a purist versus someone that uses gimmicks, right? It's like, okay, so what? It's a normal deck, but you never offered me to examine it before or after. You know what I mean? Like, if you could do the trick stronger with a gimmick, use the gimmick. Like, just 100%. Do it.
And it's a personal thing. That's your choice. You make that decision. And the ones that make it well and their routine and their effect is good, do better. The ones that don't, hey, whatever. You want to be a purist, by all means. Then maybe that should be your unique selling proposition.
Exactly. Right? It's what your end goal is, right? Like, do you want to do the strongest effect possible, the most pure effect possible? Do you want to get views? Do you want to be a real magician online? Like, it's their intent, right? It is what it really boils down to.
If their intent was to build a good and reputable name in the Magic community, they would absolutely not be doing what they're doing.
Exactly.
If their intent was to get as many views and become famous online, kudos. You probably figured out the fastest way to do that, and I applaud you for it. Right. But just know there's a large portion of the Magic community that you have bastardized yourself with.
Right.
That is never going to accept you. Exactly. So you weigh that cost, which they both have. They're both smart individuals.
Yep.
The people on YouTube are smart people. You know, they're not idiots. They don't have large numbers of followings because they're stupid, but they've had to weigh that. There's been a time where in their brain they'd had to go, do I want to go this approach, which might turn this group off, but excel me in this group, or do I want to take the reverse? And some people take the reverse. Look at people like Bill Malone, David Williamson. They're not hugely famous on Instagram, social media, and things of the such, but they're hugely famous in the Magic community, and that's going to last until the day they die. Whereas, who knows? I mean, maybe social media takes a turn and goes somewhere else. Now, what are you talking about it financially? Respect for the art, building a name in a community. If it's financially, good for you guys. Your views are turning into money in your bank account. If it's a name in the community, well, you've made that name. I'm not sure that you've made it the way I would want to make my name. So I'll approach it differently, And whereas Williamson, I don't even know if he has a social media account, but look, his name is iconic and will be forever in Magic, right? So it's what's your end goal? And then why in God's name would you complain about that? Rick Lass, Jabrizi, Disturb Your Reality, they don't affect me. I don't not get bookings because they're doing that shit online. Why would I complain about it? Do I agree with it? No, I wouldn't do it. But my goal isn't to get a bunch of views online. And if it is, I want to get my views from a different way. So I still can have a name in the Magic community that I feel is respected in a way that gets lost if you put Stooges online, if you do silly Magic online. That's not the name I want to be associated with me in Magic. So it's just different strokes for different folks. But to complain about it or think that it's wrong, I just don't understand that train of thought.
It's not an objective art form. Like, it's just,
exactly.
It's not.
That's like saying, oh, hip hop is bad.
There's no rules.
Exactly. Yeah. Unless they're breaking laws, which they're not, I just don't get how you can complain. Except I do get it. The thing is, people like to hear themselves speak. If they can pick at somebody who's doing something very successfully, their voice is now being heard and associated with that. So, it's a perfect example. Like, get off your ass and go do something. Just get out, live life, worry about you, close the computer and do something. Have people talk shit about you. Do something that gets them talking about you as opposed to vice versa, right?
100%. I love that, by the way, and I think it should put a lot of people's bitching in perspective and give them an opportunity to do something great. So I really love that. We are now getting to the point where we are nearing the end of the episode, and we have a whole bunch of sort of rapid fire questions that come at you. You can answer them as quickly or as slowly as you like.
We just say rapid fire for fun.
Yeah, I don't know why we say it, to be honest. So the first of them is what we call our magical PSA. So you basically have all the magicians of the world listening to this last time I checked, and we have an opportunity to tell them something, give them either a word of warning, something to stop doing, something to start doing, but something that all the magicians of the world need to hear you say, something they need to know. So what is that thing?
Yeah, it's going to come really, really corny, but look, I'm a huge believer in just follow the golden rule. It's the thing you learn first, and I believe if the world followed it, we'd be in a better place, and the Magic community is no different. Before you say something, before you judge someone, before you make an opinion that is out there to the world, take a minute, treat that person with the respect you would expect they treat you. And that's if they're a stranger, if they're a close friend, whatever the situation. Pause before you react and just think, if I was in their situation, how would I want to be treated? And act accordingly. Just be respectful first, right? And sometimes people don't deserve your respect, but that's being the bigger person. And I think the Magic community specifically needs to get off their high horse, realize that we are not curing cancer. We are entertainers. Our job is to entertain people and make them think a little differently about the world. So stop being so critical and judgmental without at least pausing. Take a second and say, if I was in this person's shoes, what would I do? And while you think that, no, you have no idea what's going on in this person's life. Not a single clue. So you might see what they project from the outside, but look, everyone is fighting many demons all the time. Give them a second, give yourself a second, and just pause and then say, if I was in his shoes, how would I want to be treated?
So it's a great answer. It's a great message for the listeners at home. Next is kind of similar to the PSA. We call it the magical question of the week. So it's either a question that you want to hear a response to, something you want our viewers to tell you, or a question you want them to sort of ask themselves introspectively. So the ears are all yours.
I'll just leave it with a question that I think really changed the game for me in my shows and my keynotes. We're magicians, we're entertainers, we want people to laugh and have a good time. But what is the message? When people leave, what is the takeaway? So all good books, all good movies, everything has a takeaway. The good ones, right? You leave there and you take something away personal. What do you want that takeaway to be from your show or your presentation? And then go through your act and really answer that question for every single effect. Is this leading towards what my takeaway from my audience is. And if it isn't, change it. Figure out how to make it.
There's a moral, there's a theme, like there is in good movies and good books and things of that nature. It's, you learn it as soon as you start studying English in class. So it's definitely a good thing to keep in mind. One of the other segments that we are sort of reinstating, it went away for a while, but now it's back, is one of your favorite and least favorite things about the way that Magic is in the 2018-2019 space. So something that you love about Magic in the 2018-2019 space and something that you dislike about it.
What I love the most about Magic is the people. I think we have a very unique and weird community and some of the best human beings I've ever met in my life. My closest friends in the world, people. That's what I love about Magic. Magic is the one thing that's never going to go away. And the good people in this community are genuinely good people. Just some of the best I have ever met in my entire life. So that's what I love. The people, the ones that make this community. What I don't like about Magic in the 2018s is, again, I don't like to complain without seeing some sort of opportunity in it. So I always saw, and this is a very personal thing. This is not Magic in general. This is personal to me. I felt as I was performing at corporate events and on stages and on, people's living room parties, whatever they are, I always just felt as if my message wasn't being taken seriously enough because I'm a comedic magician. And I wanted it to resonate more. I wanted people to come back and say, watching your show changed the way I live my life for the better.
Right.
Now, for me, Magic itself as a magic show, I personally couldn't script that. I couldn't get that impact. That does not mean it can't be done, but that means for me, it didn't work. And that's what I really got the last couple of years was getting very discouraged by. I have 2 kids. I want to better this world. I think to be successful, you have to help as many people as possible. The more people you help, the more success follows. And I felt as if my magic shows were not helping people. So I thought, here's the solution: trade shows, because I can use my magic to help a company's bottom line. Right. I experimented. I tried to figure out my in, and instead of complain about it, make the opportunity there. And in turn found that keynote speaking was the solution to my problem that married the two together. I can be an entertainer, I can do magic, but the point of why I'm being hired is far different than when I'm doing a magic show. And it allows me to genuinely help people live better lives.
Love it.
Awesome. Amazing. The next segment is what we call the endless chain of magicians. So to keep the podcast alive forever, we get each guest to recommend a possible future guest, with the only caveat being that you have to be able to give us their email or phone number. So don't say like Penn and Teller.
Well played,
or David,
gentlemen. Well played. Great marketing right there. Good for you guys.
Thank you.
So let's see. So you're looking in for a suggestion of who I would say to get on that I have their email. Okay. Let me think. There's a long list, man. I mean, I'll rattle a few off, but Bill Abbott, I mean, as far as a worker who knows this industry, David Williamson, there's no way you're going to get him.
We already did it.
You got Williamson?
Yep. Yeah, he
Good
came out.
for you guys. Hell yeah. Okay. Bill Malone, again, also very busy. You did Bill already?
No, but he is very busy. When I asked him in person, he said, "Is there any chance that we could record it while I'm driving in my car? Because I'm pretty busy."
Exactly.
So I was like, probably not. But
good for him, man. Good for him, right? Shin Lim, if you haven't done Shin, obviously.
Listen, if you can help us with that one, that's great, because I've emailed him, and his mother answers his emails, which is very cool.
Let me text him.
And she is not happy about me continually emailing him. So if you can do that, that'd be really good. And those are some awesome recommendations. And hopefully we can bring some of those faces and names on the podcast. We have 2 last segments. The first is the wrap up. So people listening to this podcast have been listening for over an hour now, and they're doing God knows what while they're listening to it, whether they're like washing the dishes or walking the dog or washing the dog or whatever the heck. and we sort of want to give them a take-home point, something particularly valuable from the episode that they can take from this. So we each go around, all three of us, and mention what we think is maybe the highlight or the most important aspect of it. I thought for me that I loved sort of hating on the haters. You know, there's so much positivity in what we do. It's not that big of a community, even if it's large and growing. It's not that big. And instead of, saying like F this person and screw that person and things like that, instead, let's just say we have different values, we have different approaches, we have different end results in mind than you do, and then you do, and then you do, and then you do. And there's no reason to hate on people who are doing it differently, and hate on people who, even if it legitimately has a negative impact on our lives, what someone else is doing on the other side of the world is not going to have that large of a negative impact on my life. Not enough that I should lose sleep at night. Not enough that I should curse them and
we're all improvising here.
Yeah, right? And tag them online and tell them how much they suck and things like that. Really, there's no rules to this game, and we're all just trying to learn all together. So that was a part that was a real highlight for me, and hopefully something that some of the viewers can take home. Tyler, what about for you?
I loved hearing a lot about the business structure of Ellusionist and how, your approach to releasing products and specifically making trailers for specific effects based on the methods and who's going to buy it. Your target audience was very interesting to me. And I also loved what you said about mentorship and the idea that you don't have to email Bill Malone and be like, please teach me personally. You can get his works. It's been released. You can read it. You can reread it. You can learn as much as you possibly can. And then what I wanted to add to that was that the community is so small. Like we're talking to you right now. If you have a question that you can't find an answer to in any of his works, you can email him that one question, and there is a chance that whoever your mentor is will respond. 100%. As long as it's not like teach me everything. If it's just like I have one little thing.
Over 100 guests on the podcast
without ever releasing anything. We didn't have a name before this, right?
And the thing is, if you approach somebody and say, look, I just did this with a huge keynote speaker, and I knew if I said, hey, I'm Adam, I'm a magician, blah, blah, great, piss off. But if I go to him and say, look, I'm halfway through your third book, it's my second time reading it, and I'm just caught up on this paragraph. Well, dude, instinctively, he knows I bought his stuff, and there's the law of reciprocity. I mean, he knows that I've given him money in one way or another, so of course you're going to get a damn email back. Not every time, but to say to someone, I have a question about the work you put out that I purchased and I'm loving. Could you clear it up? That's a damn good way to start a mentorship or a friendship. Hey, your work inspires me. I love it. Here's my question. And your question is a smart enough question that they know you've actually done your research on their work. It's a no-brainer. That's how most people get in with mentors. They study their work and then ask them questions about it.
Yeah. And on top of that, like with reciprocity, they know you've already paid for it. They want to continue that relationship, so you continue to pay for the stuff that they put out, right?
Yep. But you call and go, hey, I want to be a professional keynote speaker. Can you mentor me? You're not going to get a call back. Come on.
Not at all. Adam, what was your favorite part of the episode, or something worth highlighting?
Yeah, I guess I would really just love for people to take away the biggest takeaway is that just don't be a dick. The life is so short, and it's so easy to be negative and take things the wrong way. And look, that positivity that you could put out as opposed to the negativity might not get you further in the immediate, but it will get you further in life. You'll live longer. You'll be happier. You'll have truer relationships. And at the end of the day, it is a short life. You get to make the decisions on how you react to everything that happens. Every single thing that happens, guess what? You are the only person that gets to choose how to react to it. And it's just as easy to react in a nice, positive, progressive manner than it is in a negative and in a passive manner. So just treat people the way you would want to be treated. The shit hits the fan in life. It happens. There are bad days, all that stuff, but just realize it's your choice. Choose how you want to react to it. And before you judge someone in a negative connotation, be the bigger person, right? Kill them with kindness or ignore it altogether. And I promise you, you will live a better life. There's no easier way to be happier than show people gratitude, treat people how you want to be treated, and try and be more positive than you are negative. That's it.
I love it. And the last and final section is plugs. Where can people find you? Where should people go to learn more about you? What should people do to get you in their radar?
Sure. So just adamwilber.com. That's my personal site. That's got, all the up-to-date stuff that I'm working on. And then of course, ellusionist.com. I do have 2 things coming out this year that are going to be massive, big things that I've done. One of them is coming shortly, so stay tuned for that. It's going to be, it's the most proud project I've ever put out to the Magic community. It's something, awesome. It's what I actually, the last time I used this, it was a $3,500 show. So basically it's the stuff I'm using in the real world every single day. And then another fun little gimmicky thing that I think people will like. So there'll be products from me directly coming out. Obviously, keep your eye on Ellusionist. The team we have in place right now is, it's, again, part of what I love about Magic. The people that I get to work with day in and day out in Ellusionist are some of the best people, just awesome humans. And we have some crazy stuff coming. So keep your eyes peeled on those 2 things. And then, if you want to follow me, I would love to get my YouTube channel up a bit. So if you just go to YouTube, type my name in, Adam Wilber, and Penn and Teller Fool Us. That first video there, that's the channel to follow me at on YouTube. So if you want to throw me a follow there, I'm going to be, in the next year, I'm going to be posting a lot of cool content, more on creativity and how to live more creatively than on Magic.
Beautiful.
But I think people will appreciate it. I'm going to open every video with a magic trick and then talk about some creative stuff about it. So give me a follow there. I would appreciate it. But that's it. Appreciate your guys' time and having me on here. This was a blast.
Mega cool. And thank you so much for joining us on this episode, packed full of value and a lot of insight for us, for sure, and definitely for the people at home. And a big, huge thank you, obviously, to the people at home who listen to this episode. Your ears really mean the world to us. So thank you all so much. And we will see you all next Thursday.
Take care.
Well, there you have it, episode 102. Boy, are we bringing the heat now that we're into the triple digits. Once again, first of all, if you like the episode, go talk about it. So, head to Instagram, head to Facebook, say a thing, start joining the conversation. It really means the world. And number 2, if you want to have bragging rights for life, now's the time. Get a Discourse in Magic t-shirt. They are nearly sold out. And once 100 of them are sold, they are gone for life. So now's the chance. Grab a shirt, head to the website. And other than that, I'll see you next Thursday. And guys, let me tell you, next Thursday, the episode is going to bring the heat. You guys are going to love it. See you then.